What's going on, Jerome's? Quarterback Jerome Ezekiel Cousins has been, a bit of a lightning rod amongst the fan base ever since he came here as a free agent in 2018. Initially, he was bad and overpaid. Now he's pretty decent and reasonably paid, all that stuff. So run it the full gamut. And with Kirk heading into a contract year, the question is what the Vikings are going to do with him in the future. And is it going to be Kirking around and finding out, or will the Vikings move on? And with the season potentially going pear-shaped, the Vikings could be in place for a high draft pick, or absent that, they could trade up for a quarterback in what could be the deepest quarterback class in NFL history. But what will ownership want? What will the Wolves want? What will head coach Kevin O'Connell want? What will general manager Kwesi adofo-mensah want? Well, got a little bit of insight from noted NFL insider Jay Glazer. Now, love and respect Glazer. He gets the inside dirt. And so here's the thing. So a lot of NFL insiders, you look at, the Schefters of the world, the rap sheets of the world, a lot of their information seems to come from horse trading with agents, and sometimes their PR for that. Glazer doesn't play that game. Like Glazer is legitimately embedded with these coaches and athletes. Like he trains them in the off season at his MMA spot. So whenever Glazer's got inside scoop, it's legit. So I absolutely trust and pick up what Glazer's putting down. And he was on with Andrew Siciliano on the Rich Eisen show this week, and they were talking about the trade deadline and everything that goes into it. And Siciliano, so first off, Siciliano really leaned into, well, the Vikings should trade Kirk Cousins, and he's in a contract year and all that stuff, laying it on really thick, man. But Jake Glazer said this about the Vikings and Kirk Cousins, quote, "I think the Vikings want him, Kirk Cousins, back. At least in camp they did. I haven't been back since camp, but I think they wanted him back then." And he's talked about where the Vikings this offseason were at an impasse with Kirk Cousins. And, there was talk about an extension, and the reports were that Cousins was willing to give a little bit of a discount, but wanted a longer-term deal. The Vikings potentially would have been interested in a one-year Band-Aid deal similar to last offseason, but it didn't work out. And even so, it felt like all offseason that the Vikings and Kirk Cousins were sort of keeping each other at arm's length, just seeing what happened in the draft. Because, remember back, there was talk that the Vikings could have traded up. There was talk that the Vikings would take Will Levis, who was there. Obviously, that didn't happen. The Vikings did end up taking Jaron Hall, but that wasn't until the fifth round. But it did seem like they were hedging their bets, both ownership, Kirk, Kwesi, and Kevin O'Connell, saying that, hey, we're focused on Kirk Cousins this year. But then maybe it got put on the back burner. But if Glazer, again, I trust Glazer, and what he's saying is true, that in training camp, so far after the draft, and into seeing what Jaron Hall has and seeing what Kirk Cousins can do in year 35, that the Vikings were still interested in bringing him back for next season. I think that carries a lot of weight. And Kirk, so far this year, he's playing well. It's very similar to the good season that he had last year. He's second in the league in passing yardage, completing 67% of his passes, 13 touchdowns, 4 picks now. 2 of those picks weren't really on him. A third one was tipped. He only had one really bad one, the 99-yard pick 6 against Carolina. He's also spinning a 101.7 quarterback rating. And again, I'm not a Kirk Cousins apologist. I know that sometimes it comes off that way, but Kirk has been playing well, and Kirk, frankly, hasn't been the problem. If you look at the team this year in their alleged 1-4 start, quarterback play is not the issue. Turnovers, notably fumbles, are the issue. Defensively, not being able to get a stop against the Bucs or the Eagles, and giving up 5 bajillion yards against the Chargers, and just simply not getting it done against the Chiefs. That's what it is. And I understand the allure of finding your future franchise quarterback, because having a very competent starting quarterback on his rookie deal is the greatest competitive advantage in the NFL right now. Or just having the guy, even if you have to pay him, that's what you need, right? And I understand looking towards the future, but just plopping a rookie quarterback in on this team doesn't solve all of its issues. Maybe long-term, seeing the forest through the trees, but as of right now, quarterback is not the issue on this team. It just isn't, man. And Kirk and his contract. So if Kirk indeed does leave and his contract voids, $28.25 million comes dead on the Vikings cap next year. But if he does return, then that is continuing to be prorated out in the void years if he does sign an extension. Now the Vikings can't franchise tag him because the contract voids after the window for tagging for the franchise tag, so that's a non-starter. Plus, Kirk's already been tagged twice, so the Vikings would have to tag him for the third time, which would be absorbent and ain't gonna happen. Nah. In terms of compensation, so. I know that Kirk and his salary has always been a sensitive subject amongst Vikings fans, but actually it's almost like Joe Mauer and the Twins and his contract-esque. But Kirk, you see where Kirk is right now. Like, he's in the middle of the pack in terms of quarterback compensation. And you look at guys that are paid more per season than him. Like, is Kirk playing better right now than Russell Wilson? Obviously, who's making $49 million per year. Kyler, yes, even before Kyler was hurt, I would take Kirk. Deshaun, obviously. Josh Allen sometimes, who knows. Daniel Jones making $40 million per year, obviously. Same thing, he's better than Prescott. Stafford, respect. Stafford's really stepped up. He's better than Carr, and he was better than Rodgers last year. I know that people make a big to-do about Rodgers and the injury, but Kirk Cousins played 100% played better than Aaron Rodgers last season, both in black and white stats and analytics. Any way that you want to cut it, Kirk Cousins was better than Aaron Rodgers last year. There's just really no other way to spin it, man. But the question is, would he give a discount? I actually do think it's possible. Even though Kirk, throughout his career, has grabbed every single dollar that he can, I think that the calculus does change given his age. He's going to be 36 next August, as well as where's he going to go? That's the big question. So I think that the Vikings would potentially bring him back because of a potential discount rate. Now, I say discount rate of would he take $40 million per year? I think that he would. I think that he would if it meant that he doesn't have to move his family. Julie, and the kids are obviously very comfortable here in the great state of Minnesota, as well as he does seem comfortable with ownership, with Kwesi, with Kevin O'Connell, what they're building on offense, obviously with Justin Jefferson when he gets back. So I think all of that factored in, I think that does lead him to a potential discount because, also, where's he going to go? Is he going to go to the Falcons? I don't know. Also, for the Vikings, it could be the devil where I know that some Vikings fans have been against Kirk since day one. I've always tried to have an open mind, but also I remember the days of Gus Frerotte and T-Jack, rest in power, Brooks Bollinger, Matt Castle, Josh Freeman, Christian Ponder. Like, there's been some dark days. Fell on black days in terms of the quarterback position. And Kirk, love him or hate him, like, he's certainly not in Tarkenton's range yet, but is he up there with Tommy Kramer? Is he up there with Dante Culpepper? Yes. And I think that he's above both those guys too, as of right now. So, again, love him or hate him, he's still one of the best quarterbacks in franchise history. There you go. Also, what if ownership mandates it? Where ownership obviously was all in on Kirk when he was a free agent, and Spielman signed him in 2018. $84 million fully guaranteed. Crossing that Rubicon and setting that precedent for the rest of ownership. I'm sure that sort of rubbed some of the other owners the wrong way, but the Vikings did it. And also, I'm sure that they signed off on all the subsequent extensions with Kirk. Also, what if JJ mandates it? And again, it's a weird dynamic because Kirk is going to be 36, and he's not really like showing signs of age, but that it's coming. The inevitable, age decline. But does he have 2, 3, 4 really good years left? The way that Kirk Cousins, preps his body, takes care of himself, and gets ready for Sundays, it's possible. And so what if JJ mandates it? Because again, Kirk's been throwing him the ball. JJ doesn't throw the ball to himself. And he and Kirk obviously have built up a very good chemistry during JJ's time in the league. And think about JJ's extension. Like, how many years is it going to be? Say it's a 2 or 3 year extension on top of his 5th year option. That completely coincides with Kirk's potentially the rest of his career. So maybe that's something that JJ is hung up on. Maybe he wants Kirk to be re-signed before he signs his mega deal, or maybe he just wants some clarity on what the quarterback position is going to be. Also, Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi are comfortable where, they had their prerogative. New GM, new head coach, perfectly fine if they got rid of Kirk, traded his ass, and brought in their own guy. But no, they extended him. They rolled with him for a second year. So it's obvious that they have hitched their wagons to Kirk. And obviously, I've been saying obviously a lot, like it's very smug, obviously. But Kevin O'Connell and Kwesi, they may be off a scholarship next year, where the Wilfs, they love stability, but if they don't get it done in year 3, that could be it. And if they're looking at self-preservation, if they're looking at the best way to win games, are they going to roll the dice with a rookie who could be good, could be not, or, again, the devil the guy that is going to produce, and also just the growing chemistry with him and with Kirk and Kevin O'Connell? It's possible. Also, I mean, just because the Vikings do extend Kirk, whether it's a 1, 2, 3 year deal, whatever, that doesn't preclude them from drafting a quarterback, even in the first round. It doesn't. I think it would be fully understandable, even though the Vikings do have obviously do have other needs, notably defensive line and cornerback, and also could use some offensive line depth as well. But also, the Vikings, it could be a spot where, say, the Vikings end up making the playoffs, or maybe they end up middle of the pack, middle of the table, whatever. Again, people say, "Oh, that's purgatory." Sure, but this is the year where purgatory is okay if you're still looking for a quarterback. Yeah, Williams and May probably going to go 1-2, sure, but I mean the rest of the way, like Penix Jr. is a bad dude. I love me some Bo Nix. He's really developed from his Auburn days. Shedeur Sanders, does he declare? Doesn't he? I think that there's a lot of things to like about his game. I know that there's a lot of style over potentially substance, but J.J. McCarthy looks freaking dynamite, although the J.J. to J.J. puns would get tired really quick. This doesn't even include a Washington State quarterback, which is ridiculous, man. But Ewers, Jaden Daniels looks like a bad dude, man. So, I mean, there's going to be so many freaking quarterbacks in this class. I think there could be 5, 6 in the first round. I think there could be 10 in the top 100, 125, somewhere in there. So it's a spot where the Vikings, you could stick and pick in the first round. You can maneuver up if you want to do that and find your guy. You could potentially even take a day 2 quarterback that would, in some years, would have been a first-round pick, but gets pushed down just because of the supply, even though there is a high demand for quarterbacks. So I think that the Vikings could try to thread the needle and hit that middle where they do have Kirk for another season or 2, and they still draft a quarterback of the future either in the first round or day 2 and groom him to be the guy, or have him compete with Jaron Hall and see who's going to be the dude. So I think that, again, I understand that people would be upset, given the way that, Kirk Cousins has been a very polarizing figure amongst the fan base for the last couple of years. But if I was a wagering person, which I am, I would put a couple of jelly beans on Kirk Cousins being the quarterback of the Vikings in 2024. Again, I'm not saying if that's the right thing or if that's the wrong thing, but I actually do think that logically, given what ownership likes, given what Kwesi and Kevin O'Connell are looking at, given the draft, I think it's highly likely that Kirk Cousins is back next year, and I think that the Vikings still draft themselves a quarterback. I think that's the most likely outcome at this point. But your thoughts are thoughts. Jay Glazer says that the Vikings want Kirk Cousins back. Let us know your thoughts and our thoughts in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. Want to support the work? Put a little something in the Venmo. But till next time, Skol, production value.